Have you ever noticed that every time the people of From think they're finally getting closer to the truth, the town finds a new way to prove them wrong? Episode 9 may have looked like another step toward answers, but hidden beneath every conversation, every strange symbol, and every decision made by Boyd's group, there are clues suggesting something much darker is happening. What if the monsters aren't the real enemy anymore? What if the town itself is preparing for something far worse? And what if one of our favorite characters has already fallen into a trap they don't even realize exists? Episode 9 quietly dropped some of the biggest clues of the entire season, and once you connect them together, the future of Fromtown becomes absolutely terrifying. Episode 9 opens with the town standing at a crossroads. For the first time in a long time, several characters believe they finally have a plan. Boyd is determined to move forward. Jade is more obsessed than ever with uncovering the truth. Tabitha continues to follow the fragments of memories that seem connected to the town's past. On the surface, it feels like progress, but if From has taught us anything over the years, it's that confidence is usually followed by disaster. One of the most important details in this episode is how differently the town is behaving compared to previous seasons. Usually, the town reacts immediately whenever someone gets close to discovering something important. People see visions, monsters attack, strange events begin happening. But this time, things feel almost quiet. That silence should worry everyone. Think about it. When Jade started seeing symbols, the town pushed back. When Boyd explored the dungeon, the town pushed back. When Tabitha reached the lighthouse, the town pushed back. Yet now multiple people are moving toward answers at the same time, and the town appears strangely calm. That raises an important question. What if the town isn't trying to stop them anymore? What if it wants them to continue? That possibility completely changes how we view Episode 9. Throughout the episode, several characters talk about hope. Hope has always been one of the central themes of From. The children spoke about hope. The boy in white often appears during moments when hope is needed. Even Boyd's leadership depends on giving people hope. But what if hope itself is part of the trap? Notice how every major tragedy in the series begins when someone believes they're finally making progress. Jim believed he could contact the outside world. Tabitha believed she escaped. Boyd believed he understood the worms. Fatima believed she could protect the people she loved. Every single time, hope led them directly into danger. Episode 9 seems to continue that pattern. Jade's determination is especially interesting. Throughout the season, he has become increasingly obsessed with understanding the symbols, the children, and the hidden history of the town. At first, his investigations felt random, but now a bigger pattern is beginning to emerge. The symbols may not simply be clues left behind by previous victims, they could be instructions. That's a terrifying possibility because instructions imply intention. Someone wanted these symbols to be found. Someone wanted Jade to follow them. The question is who? Many fans assume the symbols belong to the children, but Episode 9 subtly challenges that idea. Several clues suggest the symbols might actually be connected to a much older force that existed before the children were ever sacrificed. If that's true, then the children themselves may have been victims of something even more ancient. And that brings us to one of the biggest hidden theories from this episode. What if the children were never the beginning of the story? What if they were merely another cycle? The town constantly repeats patterns. Families arrive, people die, new leaders emerge, similar events happen again and again. Victor has survived long enough to witness multiple cycles. Tabitha's memories suggest connections across different timelines. Even the boy in white appears unchanged despite decades passing. All of this points toward repetition. Episode 9 quietly reinforces the idea that Fromtown may be trapped in a cycle that has been repeating for hundreds of years. Every generation believes they are special. Every generation thinks they will finally break the curse. And every generation fails. If that's true, Boyd and his group may not be moving toward victory at all. They may simply be following the exact path that countless others followed before them. And if history is repeating itself once again, then Episode 9 may not be setting up a rescue mission, it may be setting up a massacre. Because the closer our characters get to the truth, the more it feels like the town is guiding them exactly where it wants them to go. And by the end of this episode, there are already signs that the trap may have begun closing around them. One character who becomes increasingly important in episode 9 is Tabitha. For several seasons now, she has been at the center of some of the town's biggest mysteries. She escaped, she returned, she continues experiencing memories and visions that seem connected to people who lived long before her arrival. But what if we've been looking at Tabitha's story the wrong way? Most theories assume Tabitha is being chosen because she has a special role to play in saving everyone. Episode 9 quietly presents another possibility. What if she isn't being guided towards salvation at all? What if she's being guided towards sacrifice? Think about how often the town singles her out. The boy in white communicates with her. The children appear to her. Strange memories flow through her mind. Even when she briefly escaped, circumstances somehow forced her back into the nightmare. The pattern suggests something larger is controlling her path. But here's the disturbing part. The town doesn't usually invest this much attention into people unless it needs something from them. That raises an uncomfortable question. Why does the town need Tabitha? Episode 9 drops several subtle hints that her connection to the past may be much deeper than anyone realizes. If the reincarnation theory turns out to be true, then Tabitha may not simply be remembering someone else's experiences. She may actually be reliving fragments of her own past life. This would explain why certain locations trigger emotional reactions she cannot fully understand. It would explain why the children seem drawn to her. It would explain why she often feels connected to events she never personally witnessed. More importantly, it would explain why the town refuses to let her leave. Because if Tabitha is connected to previous cycles, she may hold knowledge buried deep within her memories. Knowledge that could expose the true nature of the place. But episode 9 also suggests another possibility. What if those memories are not entirely trustworthy? One of the recurring themes throughout From is deception. Characters constantly struggle to determine what is real and what is manipulation. Visions lie, voices lie, dreams lie. Even physical evidence sometimes turns out to be misleading. So, why should memories be different? What if the memories appearing inside Tabitha's mind were placed there intentionally? What if someone wants her to believe a specific story? The implications are enormous. If her memories are being manipulated, then every conclusion built upon those memories could be false. The characters might be following clues designed to lead them directly into danger. And that brings us to Jade. Episode 9 continues showing Jade's growing obsession with finding answers. In many ways, he has become the most dangerous person in town. Not because he's evil, but because he's willing to push further than anyone else. Most people in From eventually reach a point where fear forces them to stop asking questions. Jade is different. Every answer only creates more questions. Every mystery makes him more determined. Normally, that would make him the perfect hero. But From rarely rewards curiosity. In fact, curiosity usually gets people killed. The more Jade uncovers, the more isolated he becomes. Notice how his focus is shifting away from survival and toward discovery. That's a dangerous transformation because it mirrors what happened to several characters before major disasters occurred. He's beginning to prioritize the truth over safety. And that's exactly the kind of behavior the town seems to exploit. A hidden clue in episode 9 may support this idea. Throughout the episode, Jade appears increasingly convinced that he's finally seeing the larger picture. Yet every new clue seems almost too convenient. Symbols connect together. Old mysteries begin aligning. Pieces start falling into place. In most stories, that would signal progress. In From, it usually signals a trap. What if someone is feeding Jade just enough truth to keep him moving in the desired direction? Imagine you're an ancient force controlling the town. You don't need to stop curious people. You simply need to guide them. Give them a clue. Let them feel clever. Allow them to believe they're winning. Then lead them exactly where you want them to go. Episode 9 feels filled with that kind of manipulation. Meanwhile, Boyd finds himself facing a different challenge. Leadership has always been his greatest strength, but leadership in From comes with a terrible cost. Every decision risks someone's life. Every failure becomes personal. What's fascinating about Boyd in this episode is how exhausted he appears beneath the surface. He continues pushing forward because the town needs him, but cracks are beginning to show. And those cracks matter, because the forces controlling the town seem to target people when they're emotionally vulnerable. We've seen it happen before. Characters are isolated, fear grows, doubt appears. Then the town strikes. Episode 9 repeatedly places Boyd in situations that force him to question himself. Is he making the right choices? Is he leading everyone towards safety? Or is he leading them toward another catastrophe? The episode never gives a clear answer. Instead, it plants uncertainty. That uncertainty becomes even more important when we remember how many times Boyd has been manipulated throughout the series. The worms, the dungeon, the visions, the voices. Every season introduces a new way for the town to influence him. So when Boyd feels confident about the path ahead, viewers should probably feel nervous, because confidence has never protected anyone in From. If anything, confidence often marks the beginning of a character's downfall. And by the end of episode 9, multiple characters are moving forward with more certainty than ever before, which might be the biggest warning sign of all. Because while everyone is focused on finding answers, the town may already be preparing its next move. And if the clues hidden throughout this episode are pointing in the right direction, that move could change everything we thought we knew about From forever. If there's one mystery that episode 9 quietly pushes back into the spotlight, it's the true nature of the boy in white. For years, fans have debated whether he is a protector, a manipulator, or something far more complicated. This episode doesn't directly answer that question, but it does provide several clues that deserve a closer look. The biggest clue is how often characters continue trusting him despite never fully understanding him. Think about it. The boy in white appears when major events are about to happen. Sometimes he helps people survive. Sometimes he leads them toward important discoveries. But he never explains everything. He gives fragments, hints, pieces of information. That's not how a traditional hero behaves. If his goal is truly to save everyone, why remain so mysterious? Episode 9 reinforces this question by reminding us that every major action connected to the boy in white has consequences. Boyd's journey changed because of him. Victor survived because of him. Tabitha escaped because of him. Yet every one of those victories eventually created new problems. That pattern feels intentional. One hidden theory gaining popularity is that the boy in white and the force controlling the town are not complete opposites. Instead, they may be part of the same system. At first, that sounds impossible. After all, the boy in white has helped people countless times. But what if helping people survive isn't the same thing as helping them escape? Imagine a game that requires players to stay alive long enough for the next cycle to begin. In that scenario, preserving key individuals becomes essential. The boy in white may not be fighting the game. He may simply be ensuring the game continues. Episode 9 subtly supports this possibility through the way characters discuss destiny and purpose. Again and again, people are pushed towards specific actions. Certain individuals appear more important than others. Certain events feel predetermined. The more we learn about From Town, the less it feels random. It feels designed. And if the town is designed, then every major figure inside that design deserves scrutiny, including the boy in white. Another fascinating detail involves Victor. For years, Victor has been treated as the keeper of forgotten knowledge. He remembers things nobody else remembers. He possesses information stretching back decades, yet even Victor admits there are gaps in his memory. Those gaps may be more important than the memories themselves. Episode 9 hints that Victor's missing memories could be hiding something massive. Every time he gets close to certain topics, confusion follows. It's almost as if parts of his past have been deliberately hidden. The question is, who hid them? Did trauma block them out? Did Victor suppress them himself? Or did the town somehow remove them? That final possibility sounds extreme, but From has repeatedly shown the ability to affect minds, memories, dreams, and perception. At this point, memory manipulation would hardly be the strangest thing we've seen. If Victor's memories were altered, then he may unknowingly hold the key to understanding the entire mystery. And that's exactly what makes him so important moving forward. Meanwhile, another detail hidden inside episode 9 involves Ethan. Many viewers overlook Ethan because he's one of the younger characters, but the series has repeatedly shown that children perceive things differently in this world. Ethan notices patterns adults ignore. He accepts impossible ideas more easily. He often understands concepts before anyone else. That's not accidental. Children have always been central to the mythology of From. The sacrificed children, the boy in white, Victor as a child survivor, Ethan's connection to strange visions. These connections keep appearing again and again. Episode 9 continues that trend by subtly suggesting that Ethan may understand more than he realizes. His observations often sound simple, but when viewed through the larger mythology, they become surprisingly important. One theory is that Ethan represents the next stage of whatever cycle the town keeps repeating. If Victor was the survivor of a previous cycle, Ethan could become the survivor of the current one. That possibility becomes even more unsettling when we consider how many similarities exist between their stories. Both arrived as children. Both experienced tragedy. Both encountered forces others couldn't fully understand. And both seem connected to knowledge hidden beneath the surface of the town. If the parallels are intentional, Episode 9 may be quietly foreshadowing Ethan's future. But perhaps the most terrifying clue in the entire episode involves the monsters themselves. Notice how little we actually learn about them despite 4 seasons of story. We know they hunt, we know they transform, we know they follow strange rules, yet their true origin remains hidden, and that should concern everyone. Usually, by this point in a series, viewers would have a clearer understanding of the primary threat. Instead, the monsters feel more mysterious than ever. Why? Because they may not be the final threat. Episode 9 repeatedly shifts attention away from the creatures and toward larger forces operating behind the scenes. Ancient rituals, hidden histories, strange cycles, manipulation across generations. The monsters increasingly feel like symptoms rather than the disease, like soldiers rather than generals. That changes everything. Because if the monsters are only servants, then something else is giving orders. Something older, something smarter, something powerful enough to control the entire town. And if our characters are finally getting close to that truth, then they may be approaching the most dangerous discovery of the entire series, because secrets can be deadly in From. But sometimes the answers are even worse. And as Episode 9 moves toward its final moments, the feeling becomes impossible to ignore. The town isn't merely reacting anymore. It's preparing for a confrontation, preparing for a revelation, or perhaps preparing for a sacrifice. Whatever comes next, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The nightmare isn't ending. It's only entering its most dangerous phase yet. As Episode 9 continues, another mystery starts becoming impossible to ignore. And that's the question of why this place seems obsessed with repeating the same events over and over again. The deeper we go into the mythology of From, the more evidence we find that history isn't simply repeating by coincidence. Something is making it happen. Think about how many times we've seen similar patterns emerge. New arrivals enter the town. They refuse to believe what's happening. Someone starts searching for answers. Hope begins to spread. Then a tragedy occurs that pushes everyone back into fear. The cycle repeats again and again. At first glance, this might just seem like the structure of the show, but Episode 9 contains several clues suggesting this repetition is actually part of the mystery itself. What if the town isn't trapping people? What if it's trapping stories? That may sound strange, but stay with me. Throughout the series, stories have always carried unusual importance. Ethan talks about quests and heroes. Victor uses stories to explain events he struggles to understand. The boy in white often communicates through symbolic actions instead of direct explanations. Even the town itself seems to operate according to narrative rules. Heroes are chosen. Sacrifices are required. Cycles repeat. Characters play roles whether they realize it or not. Episode 9 quietly strengthens this theory. The reason certain people seem destined for specific paths may not be because they're special individuals. It may be because they're filling positions in an ancient story that keeps replaying. If that's true, then Boyd isn't simply Boyd. He's filling the role of a leader. Tabitha isn't simply Tabitha. She's filling the role of a seeker.